Welcome back to Andersen Acres. Today we are going to continue talking about ducks. Today I want to just mention the middleweight ducks. These guys are basically the jack of all trades of ducks. If you're not sure what kind of duck to get, if you get a middleweight breed duck, they can kind of do a little of everything, so you can kind of get a feel for whether you want meat ducks or whether you want layer ducks or whether you want ornamental ducks. These guys have it all. So they are a perfect choice for a beginner. So these guys are around 6 to 8 pounds, so truly in the middle of the weight classes, and they don't fly really well. Most of the breeds in this weight class they just don't really get off the ground. They might try, but they're not really going to make it most of the time. We have cayugas, which is a duck in this class, and they really, even if they try, they just don't get off the ground. So most of these breeds are never really going to fly. They are literally right in the middle of every other duck. Okay, that's why they're middleweight ducks. So size, they're in the middle of. Egg laying, they lay more than a meat duck, more than a heavyweight duck, but they lay less than the super layers. They're right in the middle. Their growth rate, they grow a little bit faster than a super laying breed, but they don't grow as fast as a true meat bird. And when it comes to using them for meat, they do have less meat yield than a larger breed duck like a Muscovy, but they have more meat yield than your super layers, which are always kind of scrawny anyway. So they're really right in the middle. So again, if you're not sure what you want in a duck, you might want to explore the middleweight breeds just to figure out exactly what you want out of a duck. The middleweight ducks are pretty good foragers. They're really good for your yard. They're not huge, so they can free range in a smaller area, so you can have them in your yard if your yard is a little bit smaller. But they do need a little bit more space than, for example, the bantams. Bantams are really tiny and tend not to have much space requirements. These guys do need a little more space. They don't need as much space as the really large heavyweight breeds. They do tend to be calm and sweet, and they make good pets. So again, this is a good choice for beginners because they tend to be easier to handle. They're not super flighty. They're not super aggressive. They're just ducks, and they just kind of hang out and act like ducks. So they're a really good starter breed. Any of the middleweight breeds are a good starter breed. So if you want a fowl that can do absolutely anything, you might want to consider one of the middleweight breeds, the ducks that mature between 6 and 8 pounds. So the APA, or the American Poultry Association, recognizes 5 different breeds when it comes to the middleweight breeds. They have the Ancona duck. These guys are stunning. They're the best layers in the middleweight class. So if you want a really, really good layer, but you still want that kind of all-around, all-purpose duck, you might want to go with the Anconas because they do lay more than most of the other ducks in this class. They are a bit of a rarer duck, so you definitely want to take your time to look for good quality because they're not super common. Then there's the cayugas. This is what we have. These guys are so black that they shimmer. They're absolutely gorgeous. So depending on how the light catches them, our particular ducks will shimmer blue, green, purple. It depends. They're very, very dark. And their duck eggs at the beginning of the season are almost black. They're really dark gray. They also make really great pets because they're really calm, really easy to handle. They tend to really like people. So cayugas are, again, a really good starter breed. There's the crested duck. Now, the crested duck is strikingly beautiful. That beauty, that crest on the head, is due to a genetic defect. Okay? So it's important to realize that this is not a common thing with duck breeds. It's been kind of isolated. That mutation was isolated and bred into its own breed. They're a really, really stunningly beautiful duck, mostly because of that wonderful crest. Then there's the Orpington duck. And yes, there's also an Orpington chicken. But right now we're talking about Orpington ducks. Okay, there are both. So the Orpington duck is graceful, friendly, and a little bit rare. They're certainly not as common as Orpington chickens. Everyone has an Orpington chicken. Relatively few people have Orpington ducks. So if you do get your hands on a couple of really nice Orpington ducks, definitely breed them and either keep or sell those babies because they're definitely worth it. They are a very sweet, friendly, easygoing bird if you're looking for something that is relatively easy to care for because they really don't care that much. You might want to go with an Orpington duck. Then you have the Swedish duck. These are the hardiest of all duck breeds. So if you have really weird climate and you really don't love winterizing things, you might want to go with a Swedish duck. They can take the heat, they can take the cold. These guys are pretty good year-round in most areas. They are a fantastically beautiful bird if you take a look at that plumage pattern. And they are, again, on the rare side, so if you do want to get into Swedish ducks, it may take a while. You may have to go on a wait list for eggs or babies, just because they're not everywhere. They're a more rare duck. You're going to have to take your time to find one. But those are the 5 APA-recognized middleweight duck breeds. I hope you found this informative, and I do hope you consider going with one of these jack-of-all-trades kind of ducks. They're a good way to start your introduction to ducks and decide if you even like ducks. You can get more specialized later. That's about it for us here today at Andersen Acres. We'll see you tomorrow.